I'm Sergeant Keating. I'm the president of the 5-6. First thing I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and do a little bit of a roll call to make sure that we have all of our presenters here today. So I saw Master Sergeant Nadler, Sergeant Tallarico, you're in the room?
Yes, sir. Here, sir.
All right. And then we've got Sergeant Chuna and Sergeant Rather?
Yes, sir. Here.
Rather. All right. And then Sergeant Jones from Det 1. Are you down there?
Yeah. But it says Sergeant Heinrich on there. But
I like it.
I'm probably gonna have to cut out a little early. I said kids. Have to get the kids.
Got to get the kids. That's right. All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll do as best we can. But we're going to start off with Sergeant Nadler, and I believe you've got your own slides. Yes, sir.
I do. Yeah. Let me.
Okay.
Let me share.
Well, I believe I already enabled participant screen share. So if you'd like, go ahead and share your screen, and we'll go ahead and take off with you.
All right. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. So I'm Sergeant Nadler. I'm sitting down here at the AFRISS workshop. Came into recruiting in 2012, did EA in upstate New York, came to San Antonio MEPS, went back to New York to be a flight chief on the same flight I was a recruiter on, and now I'm down here at AFRISS. When I got here in December, was when news broke that AFRISS TF, currently Legacy, will officially be replaced with Salesforce platform. So what we did is we took the 341st, we built out leads management only. So only inputting a lead, and then that transfers back over to AFRISS, and use that for a couple months to see how it flowed. The reason we are switching from AFRISS TF to AFRISS 2.0, a couple of reasons. Number one, it's going to be a shared lead system. So what that means is anytime a lead is loaded, every recruiter from every component is going to have a box they can check that says active duty, guard, reserve, Space Force, any component that you would refer an applicant to. If that second or third or fourth box is checked for whatever component, then all components can see that same lead. Until we convert that lead, they can belong to all components. We are still in the process of determining when we want to convert that lead so we can finally own them, kind of like how MEPS owns a SPIF, we would own them in Salesforce. So in May, the pilot ended. In June, we gave a briefing to General Thomas on the results of the pilot. And he slapped the table and said, okay, let's do it. Let's replace AFRISS. So this is going to be about a 3 to 5 year project. And it's going to require a development team of 17 personnel in the headquarters building down here in the basement at Randolph. So what that means is tier 2 positions. We came up with the minimum requirements, and we said we want 5 active duty recruiters working on this project. I will be the lead, and there will be 4 tier 2 recruiters underneath me. Some requirements: 1 has to be fresh out of doing OA duty, and 1 out of MEPS. Just because those are different programs, I've never worked OA, so I can't talk on requirements. So what that means is that these 4 individuals are going to come in every day and live and breathe requirements for AFRISS 2.0. So we want this program to do everything AFRISS can do, but better and do more. So we'll work hand in hand with a development team, with a business analyst, and we are basically starting from scratch. We're not lifting and shifting from current AFRISS, although we know it needs to do data entry, SF86, and all that, but we're doing it with new technology in a different way that the Air Force has never done before. Now, I know there's some hesitations when we talk about Salesforce. One has to look at my evals, my decks, my fitness, that's all Salesforce, but that was rushed and there was no requirements team like we are doing here, which is why it's going to be a 3 to 5 year project. So up on the screen, you can kind of see what the team would be working on, and we're going to do this in phases. So we develop what we call MEPs, and these are kind of the main categories that we do in AFRISS, not just as a recruiter, but everything from marketing to MEPS to guard, reserve. Everyone's going to have their own requirements. So when we break down an MVP, we're talking about kind of the subcategories in each MVP. So let's look at applicant management, right? So this is our PIR, all the data entry we're doing. And what we're doing is writing user stories. These are kind of what our requirements are. We give these to the business analysts, they give these to the developers, and then the Salesforce developers will start programming the system to meet our requirements. So any data field we need to enter, any pick list we need to choose, we have to write a user story on that requirement. So as a recruiter, I need to be able to do this. What do we want this system to do? We do that for all the MVPs. It's going to be kind of like a waterfall effect. Once an MVP subsection is built out, we'll test it. And we're also going to have 250 users in the field to use this in addition to AFRISS. All this information we're going to type in should flow to AFRISS. So that way we're not losing any time with processing applicants, meeting going, all that. But this team is going to be responsible for basically making the system what we always wanted AFRISS to be. We just couldn't because we were constrained by the technology that Oracle is. Drew, are you on here? I asked a representative from the build out team to be on here. Let me see.
I'm on, Brian. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I was on mute.
No, that's fine. So I also have Drew Stearns. He works for Attainix. He's the director of strategy, engagement, innovation on the project. He's 25 years, Air Force recruiting service, sometime in active duty, sometime in the Guard, newly retired. So Drew, feel free to hit anything that I did not cover as far as what the tier 2 positions will be doing underneath.
No, that's I think high level, you hit it pretty solid. You will work hand in hand with the Agile team. It's an excellent opportunity, I can tell you guys from my perspective of being a former recruiter, to set yourself up with experience that is very valued on the outside world. So when you retire, you get off the bag, whatever you're doing, this is definitely an entryway to Agile project management, cybersecurity, and or other areas of cloud computing and information technology in that world. So there's several different people you're going to work with on the team. So it's a diverse mix of different capabilities. Where if you went to college for something, it would be more specific. So this is, I would say, probably one of the best opportunities that you might come across in your career as far as, hey, I'm a recruiter. That was pretty awesome. But now I'm a recruiter and I have the opportunity to pick up an IT trade while doing something that I'm very passionate about. So it's the only thing I'll add. Great brief, Sergeant Nadler.
Okay. Yeah, with that, I'll open it up for questions if there are any.
This is Sergeant Lanham here. So you said 2 of those positions need to be off of either OA or MEPS. Does that include the other 2 positions as well? For tier?
The other two can come from tier 1.
Okay.
Someone's third tier 2, just someone that's fresh from the field.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Sergeant Nadler, Sergeant Hutcherson, for the new ones that would be on that team, are there any additional requirements aside from being from those positions, OA or LO, MEPS or tier 1?
There
that
is
these
not.
Individuals would have to meet?
There is not. And I will tell you, we're looking at making this an interview position just because we want to make sure we get the right people on this, because this will be the platform that our 8Rs will be using for the next decade. But it's more to kind of gauge and make sure we're doing the right fit. But nope, those are the only actual requirements as far as experience is concerned.
Gotcha. Now, this will probably get addressed for the other positions as well, topics going forward, but is there anything that we need to do to apply, or would this be something that, they just kind of filter through as they go through MOIs being approved and all that?
Oh, this will be on the upcoming tier 2 list whenever that is released. I know they're behind, but I've been working hand in hand with the RSX office, assignments office, These 4 positions will be on there with the requirements. So if you're counting on being in the next cycle, you should know by now. If you are, then you'll have the chance at applying for this.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions for Sergeant Adler out there? This is a great opportunity. You get to be on the ground floor of something. I think that's pretty big, especially coming up to headquarters. All right, I think that's all for you, Sergeant Adler. If you got any closing comments, if not, I'll go ahead and turn over to our next speaker.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, well then it's going to be my boy, Sergeant Tallarico. Hey.
Hey, how's everyone doing today? All right, all right. My name is Sergeant Vince Tallarico, and I'm known from coast to coast like butter on toast. I start every activation call off with that. Currently the NASCAR program manager down here at the Air Force Recruiting Service at Randolph Air Force Base. It's been an incredible experience and assignment so far. I love it. It's life-changing. It's just been really incredible. A little bit about me and my information and my background here. I was an EA recruiter up in the 314th. I did HP in Manhattan, New York. I was in marketing training at the 348th Health Professions at the time. Now it's OA. And now I'm at AFRISS Marketing Events. Right now, I'm currently the NASCAR program manager. Here's a few pics of kind of what we do on the weekends. There's the upper left-hand corner there is a picture of me and the driver, Eric Jones, and his girlfriend, Holly. And then the car next to it, that's our Air Force primary paint scheme car this year for FY22. We had a paint scheme contest throughout the Air Force, and a gentleman won by, his name is Tech Sergeant Andrew Brockman, and we put all that together. We had over 150 submissions, and then we had a fan vote. And this is one of the paint schemes that all the fans voted on. And then Richard Petty, I'm standing next to Richard Petty there. He's the famous number 43 with Petty GMS. And he's a great guy. I've worked with him a lot over the past year or two, and he's just been really great to work with. Moving on to the next slide. Just being down here with the talk about family and stuff and whatnot, touch on that. With NASCAR, we are on the road quite a bit. We go TDY just about every weekend, every other weekend. Friday's typically a travel day, and then we come back on Monday. So there's a lot of weekends out, a lot of sacrifice away from family. I have a wonderful wife. There's a picture of me up there in the left-hand corner with my wife. I think definitely having a good family support structure. I have 2 kids. I have a baby girl that's 1 year old and a 4-year-old boy. So, she handles the house while I'm away and, coming back. So just having a really good family support structure. And I got to hand it to my wife because she lets me go to NASCAR races on the weekends. The next picture, we just had the Secretary of the Air Force out, Frank Kendall, out at Bristol. It was a phenomenal race. It was a primary paint scheme race. I mean, we rolled out the red carpet for him just to kind of see how we activate. This is a picture of him doing an oath of enlistment on the main stage out of Bristol. The next photo is out of Bristol also with the American flag, with our special warfare operators carrying the flag down, and they played God Bless the USA. And it was just an incredible moment to have that out there. And as the event coordinator, we planned all that stuff. We work with NASCAR Productions. We work with ABC, NBC. You really get to know a lot of people in the industry, and it's just been an incredible experience so far. We also work with, the Air Force Band, and we also the Color Guard, the Honor Guard. We had the Honor Guard out at a race. We brought them out last year to our championship race out in Avondale, Arizona. It's quite phenomenal. And then here's another picture of the Clash out in LA. The first time they ever had a NASCAR race out at the LA Coliseum. And it was an incredible experience. And you could see how small it is, but it was jam-packed on race day. This is pre-race. Now, being a NASCAR events program manager, you do get a hard card. So we get to, we have premier access in and out of the track to coordinate all these events. NASCAR is a very patriotic audience, and they're willing to work with the military. So it's just been a great experience overall, working this program and everything. Is there another slide there, Keating? Some of the day-to-day responsibilities, of course, we have TFMT, the Total Force Marketing Management Tool. We handle a lot of the NASCAR Total Force activations, and Total Force is very big right now. That's between the Air National Guard, Reserve. So, I mean, we're working with all different components across the command, and it's just about people and getting people together and making sure we're all on the same page. That way we have successful activations. We coordinate our Eric Jones footprint appearances with the Air Force NASCAR driver. His name is Eric Jones. So what we'll do is we'll bring him out to a footprint on a race day. And it is awesome because normally we're able to get about 150, 200 fans lined up just to meet Eric Jones in front of an Air Force national asset. We also handle track credentials. Flyovers are huge. If we secure a flyover, we save the Air Force, a lot of money on getting the site fees waived at these tracks. This past year, we saved the Air Force over $300,000 on site fees, just securing flyovers. So we work with a lot of the flying squadrons out of the bases, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, that type of thing. We also coordinate our GO coordination, our general officers, when they come out to visit. We handle all the itineraries, police escorts, just showing them a great time, showing them what we're all about, showing them, not only showing them a good time, but then also touching on data points. Why are we in the business of NASCAR? A lot of people ask that. And, we provide all the data on, how NASCAR is, it's all numbers driven. There's a reason why we're in the business. We're also, like, right now we're in the midst of planning for next year already at this time. So we're going to come up with a new primary paint scheme for next year and figure out our primary races. We work with a lot of civilian entities, with Petty GMS, the NASCAR teams, and it's almost like a family. It really is. You get to know all these guys and girls on the weekends, and it's just really phenomenal. We're a team. We show up to the track, and everyone helps each other out. It's just been a great experience so far. I'd highly recommend it to anyone out there that's really, like a people person. You like to get out of the office. You like to go TDY. And it's just a blast. It is a really good time. Does anybody have any questions? No questions?
I'll ask one, Sergeant Tallarico. You
Yes,
do
sir.
more than just NASCAR, right? So with the events, you guys get to do things with like Do Tour and other activities, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And that's a good point. So we have like 30 other partnerships that we do a lot of cool stuff with. I just happen to be at this point in time in NASCAR. I'm getting ready to switch that up next year. And that's the other cool thing about working down here at the Air Force Recruiting Service, is that there are so many partnerships and there's so many opportunities and networking and coordinating events, working with the recruiters all out in the field from across the nation, coast to coast. But yeah, there's like, we have the Do Tour, we have Surfer Girl, we have 4-H, we have Formula Drift. We have a lot of different partnerships. So it's a real blast working down here.
Just start laying them here. So I guess your primary responsibilities is kind of like an event. You like equivalent to the civilian world, you're an event coordinator.
Yes, sir.
Okay. No,
That is correct.
that's what I was trying to connect the dots to. Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's a very good question. So we're pretty much, event coordinators, but then there's also the marketing piece. We do a lot of analytics. In the background of that, we're finding out, like, every week after a race, I'm looking at the Nielsen TV ratings to see kind of how the TV ratings did with our primary paint schemes, things like that.
Okay, so a bit of marketing mixed in with it then as well. So like event coordinator / business marketing. So you can essentially show a company or a business or, for example, for the Air Force, how well something is done and if it was effective, therefore why they should do it again next year.
Yep, that's right. Yep, you hit it right on the head.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Questions? Any questions? All right. You guys are quiet today.
I think we got a lot of shy people. Maybe they're not persons like you, Sergeant Tallarico.
That's all right. Yeah, if anybody ever has any questions, feel free to reach out. If you have a question, just contact me over email and I'll be more than welcome enough to answer any of your questions.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the emails are actually in the slides, but if you would, go ahead and put your email address in the chat. That way they can take it down if they want it and hit you up offline too.
Perfect. I'll put my email address in there and my cell phone number if anybody wants to reach out.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate having you today, Sergeant Tallarico. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next. We're going to talk about overseas assignments with Master Sergeant Chuna.
Yo, what up? No, it's Sergeant Cunha. It's all good. It's been getting slaughtered my whole life, man. It's all good. So thanks for having me on. So my name's Sergeant Cunha. I'm the overseas recruiter out here in the UK. I've been in Air Force recruiting service since 2014. Did my EA time over in Hartford, Connecticut in the 319th. Then I went over, that was for 3 years. And then I did ops over at 6-2 for 4 years. So that I left ops last year in 2021, got out here to the UK. For overseas recruiting, I'm going to touch mostly on, what we do out here in Europe. And then I'll briefly touch on some of the stuff that they do in the Pacific, just so you guys kind of know the differences. And then, I'll definitely put my contact info in the chat as well. That way, if anybody wants to reach out, if you're coming up on that tier 2 cycle, I know that assignment cycle is always a mystery. So for overseas recruiting, I always joke and tell people it's like uniquely the same, but different, because basically, you're a recruiter first, but you're equally a MEPS. So what I mean by that is, as a recruiter, you're still doing all the same stuff. I have DoD high schools that are out here. We have international high schools located all throughout Europe. So you have an international high school like in Belgium or over in Bahrain. And so, we have a recruiter that's in Italy, but he's got to get on a flight, travel to Bahrain, stay in the night, wake up, do a high school visit, do a presentation, do zone canvassing, go to sleep, wake up, and then fly back. So a school visit, instead of taking a few hours out of your day, takes him 3 days of his work week in order to get that taken care of. I'm getting ready to plan a trip to go to a DoD school that's in Spain. Same concept. I'm flying down there a day early, trying to knock out zone canvassing, do a school visit for a few hours, zone canvas, go to sleep, wake up, fly back home. And then hopefully it lines up. This time it happens to line up on a Friday. So still the same type of EA recruiting stuff. Some of those challenges might be, I remember being an EA recruiter, especially on the East Coast and the squadron that I am now, looking at overseas recruiting, be like, I bet it's easy because, you got DoD and you got the bases and you have all these people. And I will say yes to that. However, I will also add that those challenges come with a little bit of their own flavor in terms of, you have your targeted expats. So your U.S. expats or your U.S. citizens living abroad. So, I have a few applicants that are, kids of a U.S. embassy or the consulate up in, like, one of my guys that's in Scotland. His dad works at the consulate that's there. I had an appointment earlier today of a guy that just, retired out of the Air Force and lives in Ireland, and he has a kid that wants to join. So you have those random ones that are kind of sprinkled about all amongst over here, specifically in Europe. And then you have your DoD dependents. So your husbands, your wives, and your kids. I will caveat that with, it does come with its own challenges in terms of job selections and job counseling. And so we can have a conversation one-on-one. Once you get your assignment cycle list, you want to give me a call, we can have a separate conversation for that. I would say some of the main differences between, when you do get those listings and you're making that decision on tier 2, the Pacific over at 6.9 covers out of Los Angeles versus what we do here is in Europe per se, we do not have a MEPS. So, you know, Puerto Rico has their own MEPS. And then part of the Pacific does have a MEPS in Hawaii that they use. They do have, Alaska has their own business up there as well. So, you know, you have recruiters in Guam and recruiters in Japan for the Pacific. And then all of us out here in Europe, we all use an MTF, military treatment facility. So we use the actual Air Force clinic or Army clinics or Navy clinics, for instance. The challenge with that, I won't say I have the same pain that some of you guys do in terms of MHS Genesis. However, with those DoD dependents that I just mentioned, anything and everything always is in TRICARE and in their Alta medical records. So we do have certain challenges of what a flight doc will want. And that flight doc isn't always an Air Force flight doc. So that doesn't always mean, you know, that it's a quick phone call like, hey, Cap, can you help me out with this? You know, it could be an O2 or O3 or O4 that's in the Army or that's in the Navy, and it's going to be very black and white, or they have their own procedures and ways that they do things. On the flip side of that, you have usually typically a direct liaison. So in the MEPS function for us, you're basically still being a LINCO. So in one moment of the day, I'm a recruiter, I'm having an appointment. And then the next moment I'm calling the clinic because I'm doing my LINCO work and I'm trying to get someone confirmed for scheduling. And then once they're confirmed and I can process them, now I'm going to have an appointment so that I can start scheduling travel. So then I'm on a Zoom call like this and, you know, sharing my screen. We're trying to buy tickets so that they can fly from, I have a kid out in Kazakhstan right now. So now I got to buy a ticket from Kazakhstan to London, and I got to figure out the best financial way to use my money of how am I going to get him from point A to point B, get him in a hotel. Now I got to call the hotel and I got to book all that. And then I got to sort out the food situation. So I would say with all that being said, you put way more time and investment in each individual applicant. So in terms of, you know, do you get the overall numbers of, you know, shipping out 50, 60 people and getting those Olympiads? Likely not, at least out here in Europe, not impossible. We have people that have done it. You definitely have people that can do it in the Pacific. It's just the amount of work and time and effort that goes into each individual applicant is completely different. Because, you know, normally as a tier 1 recruiter, right, you guys are just, we're pushing the paperwork, we're sending it up to MEPS, and then MEPS takes care of the rest. And then, you know, you get them on a shuttle and then send them on their way. However, here it's you're doing every step of every bit of the process. When it comes to shipping, same thing. If they're not local, you're flying them in to get them a ship day inspection. Females are doing their pregnancy testing at the clinic. You're waiting for that to come back. You're booking their and then you're sorting out all those things. You do a lot of stuff on Zoom. You do typically now Microsoft Teams, but almost all my calls are video chats. And again, you just being able to communicate virtually like this to articulate everything that you need in order to communicate to that individual that if you're going to spend the time, the money, and the energy in order to have them travel out to wherever you may be in the overseas recruiting world, that they need to be 100% committed to this process. On top of that, I would say with some of those challenges, it's super rewarding because, you know, you have a lot of DoD dependents, whether they're kids, husbands, or wives, and even surprisingly a decent amount of even prior service applicants, just because you have people that are on IMA status that are Guard Reserve overseas because their husband or wife is active duty and they're out here on IMA status, and then they're out here and they're like, hey, I'm going to be here 4 years anyways. What's the chance I can go prior service? So either way, super rewarding in the sense of, you know, you get the direct feedback where I'm sitting there and, you know, X number of months ago, I put in an applicant for paralegal, and then she's literally comes in right across the hall to go through FTAC because I'm in the education center at my base. So that type of stuff is super cool to be able to see it full circle like that. And then you kind of get sprinkled connections all around base. So I'm out here for another 2 years. And then now I know I just have these sprinkled connections over at PA, over at paralegal, over at public health coming up here soon. So just little connections like that you are essentially planting into your own garden, I guess, if you want to call it that. Other than that, I mean, I would say unless anyone has any questions, I would just say any of you that this is your first tier 2 go around, the biggest thing I would stress is to know that, tier 2, you turn in the phone if you're going training, ops, or MEPS, and you just get another chance to get like a second sample of AFRS prior to making the long-term decision. It doesn't mean if you go tier 2 that you're in it for the long haul. You could just do tier 2 and then be like, you know what, it's not for me, and then go. Or you could do tier 2 and you'd be like, I get it now. I see the bigger picture. I'm ready to keep doing this. So that's one of the biggest things I stress to any recruiter that I talk with about the tier 2 experience. So if anyone's got any questions, I'm all ears. Somebody asked something. I'm in the chat. Oh, somebody out there? You got a question?
I got a question. How often do you get to travel? Like, do you get to go, said you have somebody in Scotland, do you get to travel to like Ireland or Scotland, other places other than just where you're at in the UK?
Yeah, so a lot of random TDYs. For me, I cover all of the UK, Iceland, Greenland, Estonia, Latvia, Portugal, Spain. So I'll be going to Spain this next quarter, and then hitting up, embassies throughout. I'll be going up to Scotland, TDY, for same thing, embassy visit, making sure they have all my information. So that's kind of nice. And then, the other people that are in the other parts of Europe, and same thing with Japan, you're hitting different regions. So like our guys over in Germany, they're going to go to Belgium. They're going to go to Switzerland. You got the guy in Italy. He's going to he makes his trip to, Bahrain, or goes to Turkey. So you're going to be going TDY multiple times, to mostly, fairly cool places. Unless you don't think any of those places I just mentioned would be cool to visit on someone else's dime, by all means. But that's probably one of the other added benefits. And then I guess being back on a base has been nice. I spent 7 years away from a base, being a recruiter in Hartford, Connecticut, and being ops in Southern California, attached to a reserve base. So for me to be back on a base, there's little things that you just kind of forget that you enjoyed. I think someone put something in the chat, but I don't know how to get. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I got you, sir. So Sergeant Smith asked, with overseas recruiting having so many points of failure with travel, are you held to the same in-week cancellation standards?
Yeah, that's a bad day for anybody. I've never taken one. I did take one, actually. I take that back. I did take one. It was for COVID. So I can't chalk that as like, but there's nothing I could have done about it. But, basically before the COVID restrictions dropped, us out here in the UK, I'm sure Pacific was the same. You were responsible for doing all these COVID tests. And it's that's a bad day for anybody. So yeah, it's, and that's the other thing with that commitment, because, when you have, like, I have an applicant in Spain that's shipping out next month. So when I'm like, hey, we're buying your plane ticket, I for some reason in the year that I've been out here, for me, it feels like it seems like they're way more committed. It may take you more time to get to that commitment, but I feel like I have more of a commitment. It feels like they have more of a commitment to, like, hey, I'm doing this because this is happening. I feel like if a kid gets on a train or in a taxi, like I brought somebody in from Southwest London or from Southwest England, that guy was in a taxi for 4.5 hours. And I feel like if you make that trip 4.5 hours one way to do the things you got to do, you go back, you make the trip 4.5 hours back, like he's going to in a few weeks to try out for SW. I feel like you're pretty committed. The chances of you not making it happen are pretty slim at that point. But yeah, held to the same standards in terms of 100%. You're going to go through all the same ringers of, paperwork and counseling or whatever else your production superintendent has in mind, or your flight chief for that matter. But I guess I don't want to say luckily, but I guess at least mine, I had a COVID reason. So there's nothing I could have done about that.
Could have made sure your applicant didn't get COVID.
Right. Hey man, the same briefings, right? Just, hey, live in a bubble. So, who knows, man? Who knows?
All right. Do we have any other questions? Sergeant Langham, I see your mic unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, are you on the same, do you have a goal as far as overseas, or is it kind of like, hey, just because you have to dedicate so much time to one individual? I can only imagine you can process so many people per quarter. I mean, unless like you're just, I mean, I imagine you get used to some steps, or a little bit things are easier depending on the applicant, but I'm sure there's enough hurdles to basically be like, unless you don't give time to yourself, like, what is your standard?
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of regions, would I say that my, individual goal is lower depending on the region I would compare it to? Let's see, I think off the top of my head, I want to say my last quarter's goal was a 6. I think it was 5 or 6. So let's just say 5. On average, I mean, we pretty much have an expectation to, you should be processing, just like most people across the states, you should be processing a person a week. Worst case scenario, if you're processing someone every other week, I mean, you're looking at what, 2, maybe 3 if it's a long month. That's 6 people a quarter. I would say in terms of processing, also just you're always planning for the next quarter. Very rarely will I process someone in a quarter and then also book them in the same quarter. So unless I process someone, like I have a guy tomorrow that's processing, unless I'm processing him right now, he should be qualified, clear and well to ship by the end of the quarter, should be. And that's if, everything goes well with the routing up, because we use, there's 2 different ways to get someone qualified in terms of they take a physical at a clinic, and then you either get that stuff back from the clinic and you route it like a standard SG waiver, like we all see that's in AFRISS, or my clinic, they're really good about processing paperwork. So I can have someone process and on a good timeline, as long as all the doctors are at the hospital to sign off the paperwork, I can get one back, but it takes me about 30 days, about 4 to 5 weeks to get someone officially qualified to ship out. I get a working copy back. So about a week and a half or a week after they process, I'll have a working copy of a record. I can load that. They've already taken their ASVAB. I can start job counseling, and then I can book them a job. And then I just push their availability date out at least 30 to 45 days. So you're always working towards next quarter. So everybody I have now is basically going to be doing something for me this quarter and next quarter. So in terms of time and balancing that, for me, it's like Fridays, for most of the people on here, maybe not. I don't know. Most people, typically going into year 2, 2.5, definitely by the time you go into year 3, right? Like you should be having admin Fridays. Like you should be in your office on a Friday, just doing paperwork, just doing follow-ups, I'm doing the same stuff, but my workload in terms of people is usually a little bit smaller in terms of like how many PIRs I'm going to have open than maybe the average recruiter per se of like, California, where I came from at Ops, which is, their PIR numbers are madness. But I'm also doing MEPS QCs. And then any other time that I have blank time in my schedule, like if I have, scheduled appointment time, like I did today, if I don't fill that in, then I'm doing what I did today, which was res QCs. And I'm just going through doing res QCs, and that's my MEPS function. And then I'm just, blacking out those 3 hours of like, okay, this is MEPS QC time. Like I'm not going to answer the phone unless my flight chief calls more than once. But I'm literally like, I'm blacking out a schedule on a Friday, and my phone's on vibrate. Like I'm not answering calls. I'm literally just going to call in, get my ticket squared away so this person can fly, this person can ship out. You're basically very strict on yourself. You have to be very strict on yourself in order to make everything work. There are days, definitely, I would say, in terms of time. There are days where, you might be working, an easy 10. Depending on where you're recruiting in the country, right? What recruiter's not? So, it kind of at that point, it really just depends. So scheduling, blocking out time, being strict on that time, you know, going to the gym that much earlier at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I mean, hell, it's 9:41 p.m. here. So, but I already talked to Sergeant Kettering. I was like, nah, man, I'll do it. I'm gonna be on here because I know I wish this was done for me back in the day when I was going tier 2 the first time. I definitely would have loved to have this. I think we got another question too. I'm not sure.
Yes, sir. And I think you partially answered it already. The question is, what is the average time you spend away from home in a month?
Honestly, not really much, to be totally honest. Because I mean, you're gonna squeeze a TDY or 2 in a quarter, you know. So I mean, I might spend a few days, like so this coming quarter, just for example, other than the annual, which I mean, that's all of us, right? So other than the annual, you know, last month I was in Spain doing some stuff, and then in December I'm going back to Spain. So next quarter, you know, I'll probably do like a day trip, or not a day trip, sorry, but like, you know, drive up, do what I need to do in Scotland for a day and a half, and then drive back, kind of thing. Or, you know, smartly plan it for that, my visit being a Friday, drive Thursday, be there Friday. At least that hotel night's paid for. You know, bring my family with me if I want, kind of thing. And then at least, you know, have that covered down for myself. So not very much time, to be honest. I mean, other regions might be different in terms of where you're trying to cover and where you're trying to fly, but you just have to get creative and make those trips well worth it. You know, like I'm purposely going to Spain for an extra day, even though my school visit's on a Friday for a career day. I'm purposely scheduling a JROTC classroom presentation. I'm doing a classroom presentation that morning, going to lunch, coming back, hanging out with JROTC. Then the next day I have a career day, just because I know I'm not going to go back down there until maybe February, March. You know, it's going to be months until I go back down there and see it again. Whereas I have 2 local high schools on the island of the UK. And different regions are, you know, they're going to have different outlets in terms of the guys that are in Germany. And, you know, there's a few places there that they can drive out and back. And then there's a few places where it would be best if, you know, they take a whole extra day, or, you know, the guy from Italy flying down to Bahrain or Turkey or something like that. So, and then also too, that's up to you and your flight chief when you get there, what region that is, right? To be like, what's the investment versus, you know, what's the return on investment? You know, if I'm spending, you know, $800 to go down to Spain, how many people have I put in the Air Force out of those regions, right? Any other questions? Those were good ones, though.
Yeah, I think that makes you the most popular so far. But if there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and move on to our special warfare presentation. Let's go ahead and move on.
Hey, I'm Sergeant Rather. Let me turn my camera on. Hey, I sent you my slide. Do you have it, or do I need to project it? There you go.
I have the one slide. Was there additional?
Nope, that's it. So I'm at my annual now, so I'm in a hotel room. So I wanted to keep it to one slide just because we're all about to get to a bunch of slides. So I have been in special warfare recruiting in the 330th Recruiting Squadron since the beginning of the initial stand-up in 2017. I was an EA recruiter in the Traverse City, Michigan with the 339th. I did EA for like 18 months or so. I finally got decent at EA, was rolling into my second year, and they told me, hey, 330th is standing up, we want you to be a special warfare recruiter. So I hopped on that and then finished basically my time as a special warfare recruiter covering the whole entire state of Michigan. And then after that, I got picked up for special warfare training and marketing, which is called now. I've been in the seat since 2019, so I'm about to hit 3 years. Prior to that, it was assistant flight chief. So you were actually attached to a special warfare flight where you assisted the flight chief and did training and marketing. But essentially now what I do is training and marketing for the entire central region of the United States. So basically whatever 369 recruiting group covers, we cover as well for special warfare recruiting. We have 140 guys in the squadron. That's including HQ, personnel, civilians, stuff like that. We have about 96 billets. I think we have about 72 to 75 of those filled currently for recruiter billets. So you'll see if you're playing this next cycle, 22B, 22C, you'll see about 10 spots on there just spread out. I don't know if there's going to be any training and marketing spots on the next list, but you will see some special warfare recruiter spots on that list, and you might see one training and marketing spot. And you don't have to have prior special warfare recruiting experience to be a trainer or a marketer. However, it is preferred. So gonna roll into talking a little bit about special warfare recruiting. So been doing it a while, been going through a lot of the changes. Goals have changed. There's a lot of changes that are probably going to be coming up this next fiscal year. But one thing I do want to talk about that's really cool that we do is we have like just like the Air Force has a good onboarding process. It's called basic training. We kind of have our own onboarding process in the 330s. So we have the special warfare course. We just did one at Herbert Field. If you look at the picture on the top right, that's us. We had 10 recruiters that were there. And we had a scout, which is a pararescueman. We'll talk about that later too. And then myself as a trainer was there. And it was probably the best, most fun TDY I've ever been on in my entire Air Force career. We started out on day one. We got like half a day of training knocked out with PowerPoints, just going over squadron structure. Day two, we actually went to the pararescue's special tactics squadron and rappelled from their 60-foot tower. And then we took those Zodiac boats. So that's a Zodiac that we're standing on, and we took those out in the ocean and got to ride around on them. We flipped them. The combat controllers taught us how to recover them. We were swimming in the bay, stuff like that. And then after we pulled out of there, the next day we went to the range and we were shooting M9s, M4s. We were having shooting competitions, speed competitions, distance competitions, offhand competitions. Just kind of talking to those pararescuemen, combat controllers, and special reconnaissance guys about what they do and learning their job, getting briefings from them, learning what gear they use, how they communicate on the battlefield, stuff like that. And then the third day, we actually, this is a rare opportunity, something that probably no one else besides a combat controller or TAC-P has ever got to do. But we actually had guys that were on the radio talking to a C-130, and they were actually calling in close air support at like 700 meters away. With 105s and heavy rounds. So that was something that's super cool that we were able to do and get to see. And then of course we did a beach workout with a SOCOM athlete, Jason Sweet, which is a prior combat or a prior PJ. So just getting to do cool guy stuff that we forget about in recruiting. When I thought about coming into recruiting, I was like, man, I'm gonna wear my blues. I'm gonna sit in my office and it's going to be great. And I did that as an EA recruiter. And then when I got picked up for special warfare, we went to Florida. We did PT on the beach, and we got to do some cool guy stuff and see some helicopters fly and guys rappel in and stuff like that. So that's kind of our onboarding process as far as that goes. Within your first 6 months of coming to special warfare recruiting, you are going to go through a special warfare course where you're going to get to do all that cool guy stuff and get to meet with those operators. So that kind of goes in with STS immersions. TDY opportunities in the 330th. I counted it up earlier. I've been to 31 states since I've been in the 330th. I went from a small little zone in Michigan to a huge AOR. And then within training and marketing, I actually get to TDY to all these places that we cover in the region, along with annuals, semi-annuals, and quarterly training meetings. So we have quarterly training once a month or once a quarter, semi-annual and annual. So 6 times a year, you're guaranteed to TDY to probably another state, unless we pick your state to go to. And we have locations everywhere. So, I'm in Florida in the top right picture. Down in the bottom, I'm in Missouri. And then there on the left side, you can see that we were at Glacier National Park. We don't even cover Montana like as a region, but we were like, hey, look, we got the money. Let's go to Montana. And we went to Montana and did a quarterly training meeting. And it was awesome. It's probably one of my second best TDYs I ever went on. So if you like to travel around different places in the United States, the 330th is something that's going to give you that opportunity. We have expanded reach, so we work with Guard, Reserve, EA. We work with OA. You recruit special warfare airmen and combat support airmen, but you also recruit prior service, and you also recruit for officers as well. So you have an expanded reach, which is going to expand your network as well. Higher chance of recognition in the 330th. I'll say this. I know you guys probably see the emails from the group and AFRISS. when a special warfare recruiter wins at the squadron, they win all the way up to the AFRISS level. So that's a big takeaway on a lot of our EPRs. Also, the top special warfare flight chief and top special warfare recruiter for the year are automatic blue suiters. So if you're top of those and top special warfare recruiter, or if you're come to be a flight chief, you're an automatic blue suit. So it kind of eliminates some of the competition there because we are a separate entity, even though we are all kind of the same mission with the 330th. We're fitness centric. So if you like to work out and you're into nutrition and you like to do fitness and all that stuff, come to the 330th because you're going to get to do some PT and get to do some cool guy obstacle courses and monster mash workouts on the beach. And you might get smoked a little bit. We have PT. I'm in my annual now. We have PT tomorrow, so I'll have to get back with you guys and let you know how it was. But in the earlier days of the 330th, we used to do PT quite often. Then COVID kind of ruined that for us. We did a lot of Zoom PT, which was no PT at all. And now we're kind of getting back to where we're doing our in-person stuff, to where we're doing PT every time we get together. It doesn't necessarily have to be working out, getting smoked. Like we play ultimate football, frisbee. My commander really likes pickleball all of a sudden now because we did it at our quarterly training. So something active, something team building is what we usually try to strive for. But to kind of I guess I should have started with this, but the 330th, how it's different from EA is it's a more of a targeted position where you're targeting specific career fields. We have 6 career fields that we recruit for. Really, we have 3 contracts that we recruit for, which is SWOE, which is pararescuemen, combat controller, special reconnaissance, and TACPs, and then we have combat support, which is SEER and EOD. So you're only recruiting for those career fields, and all of them kind of have something in common. They have to be in shape. And a lot of them have similar interests. So we just got a briefing from Human Performance, and they basically told us where to go and find these applicants. There is a high confidence that the people that make it through the training pipeline are interested in sports, outdoors, and combatives. And fitness events. So those are 4 things that you can target and go into and get immersed in. So if you like to do Tough Mudders and you like to do these active events and you like being outdoors and stuff, you can apply your interest to finding those next generation of special warfare airmen. It's a high purpose mission. These guys that we're putting into the Air Force aren't just your traditional EA applicants that you're recruiting 24 jobs or 240 jobs, EA jobs or whatever, and you're selling the Air Force. We are selling the Air Force, but we're honestly selling special warfare. So it's more of hey, you're joining the Air Force as an EA recruiter. You're joining the Air Force to be an airman, that whole speech to try not to job block somebody, but you're actually able to tell them hey, I'm job blocking you because you want to be a PJ, right? So we're going to start training you how to be a PJ. You want to be an EOD technician. Let's start training you on how to be an EOD technician. So that goes into my next point, which is this is a position that isn't necessarily, I don't feel like it's a sales position, like a traditional EA position. You are a coach and you are a mentor and you're basically an employer to these applicants. You're going to have an opportunity to coach and mentor these guys along the way, get them in shape, get them eating right, get them resources that they need, linking them up with developers for workouts, working out with them if you want. You just can't get in the pool with them. But some of our guys do Saturday sessions. They have their dep go to events and run as an Air Force team, kind of like how on the bottom screen there we did an event and all those dudes ran together as a team. It was a 5K. It was a Bradley Smith Memorial 5K that was local to where we were. So that's kind of within the 330th. We have a culture of we have a high purpose mission. So at every turn, we're getting to meet operators and we're getting to learn about these operators that got silver stars and all this stuff. So a sense of what I'm doing by recruiting you right now, it's going to take you 2.5, 3 years to get through the pipeline, but you're going to put a brain in your head and you're possibly going to go downrange and attach to a team that's going to make that team better. And you're going to employ, combat air capabilities to that team that could possibly save another man's life or, destroy a unit to where the entire team doesn't get overran. So it's kind of hard that we kind of, you can get lost in the shuffle of the business as far as numbers go or meet and goal or whatever. But if you are interested in basically being a part of like a high purpose mission, and having that extreme satisfaction at the end of the day, that you're putting berets on heads and getting people like in these career fields and getting them training and sending them to war. That way they can bring other people back home or save lives, or however that, whatever they're doing on the battlefield that's affecting, you know, our nation's security. You know, as long as you don't lose sight of that, this opportunity. I'm not gonna lie, I did not like EA recruiting. Like I did not like it at all whatsoever. When they told me I could be special warfare, I was like, heck yeah. And I decided to stay, and I've been in the squadron for, you know, 5 years, almost to the day. So that's really all I have as far as the brief goes. I don't want to go too long. Does anybody, I want to open it up for questions. There will be assignments listed this next cycle. If there's any hesitation, I know that we can kind of be intimidating in the very beginning. Like EA, they said, man, all these guys just get smoked and they just PT all the time, and like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? It's not that bad, but you know, just understand that there is fitness. I mean, we are all in the Air Force. You have to take PT tests, but you know, whatever we do at training events is going to make you stronger and better. So.
So the floor is open for questions. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I work with Sergeant Valenzuela here out of the 369th in Oxnard, Ventura. So I'm very familiar with the Special Warfare Program, and I mean, it's definitely something that just seeing what you guys get to do is something that would interest me if I were to go to that route.
Yeah, we have a ton of opportunities in the squadron. Opportunities to get recognized, opportunities to take lead on a lot of different things. So career progression is definitely there. We have a lot of hard chargers in the squadron, so like competition is tough for awards, like that gold badge award, top SW recruiter award, like that's tough. It really is, because we have a lot more people to compete against, and a lot of these guys are hard chargers, fast paced. We also have scouts that are prior operators. We have 20 scouts that are in the squadron. Now, eventually those scouts will go out to EA squadrons. But we have, like, you know, I'm competing against a freaking pararescueman for awards. I used to. So it's tough. It for real is tough, but it makes me better. And just getting to network with the operators and getting to talk to people, you know, that are on the wall for Silver Star recipients, and getting to go to these schoolhouses and getting to do all this cool guy stuff that I never would do, like as a supply guy, you know, is really awesome. And it's just a completely different side of the Air Force and of recruiting. It's one of the only, you know, squadrons that does this mission. So you can really justify doing anything as long as it's going to benefit the mission. So we're really flexible with TDYs and stuff like that. We're not really held to the same kind of rules. Our budget's a lot bigger for marketing as well. So if you guys get marketing requests denied all the time, you know, the 330th usually comes and helps pick up the slack. If we have the money, we usually do. So that's another thing too. We have a lot of resources. We get a lot of cool stuff. They outfit us with, you know, pretty cool stuff. Yeah, I'll put my information in the chat. They give us me a nice big puffy jacket and a Yeti koozie thing, or Yeti cup yesterday. So like, we're always getting pretty cool stuff. So.
All right, if there's no other questions, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next presenter today, which is saving the best for last. Detachment 1, Sergeant Jones, you're up.
All right, I'm Sergeant Heinreich. Sergeant Jones had to step out to go take care of his kids. So did you have slides, Sergeant Keaton? Okay.
Yep, there's a couple of slides, yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. So we'll just kind of go off of that. And then we'll just kind of get through them real quick, and then we'll just kind of talk about what my experience has been like so far in Det 1. So we're all about plugging aviation into recruiting. So inform, influence, inspire the next generation of diverse aviators and leaders for our Air Force. So we are after diversity in our ready career fields. That's your air battle managers, your RPAs, your pilots, and your navigators. We are not in charge of actually recruiting them. We're just trying to inspire the next generation of aviation, essentially. So next slide. I'm not going to bore you with all that. What's next slide? All right, Inspire Ops, AIM team. I'll go with the AIM team first, just because I think that'll segue better into Inspire Ops. So AIM is basically a network of about 550 different aviators in the Air Force. And we pretty much send them TDY on our budget to go out to different events. You know, just having flight suits out at events, you know, it can be anything from an air show to NASCAR to football games or different things like that. And they're just out there trying to spread the message. Inspire Ops is actually the team that puts all of that together. So we're the ones that get all the requests for different events, and then we plug the AIM Aviation Inspiration Mentors into those programs. Next slide. And then we have Go Inspire. And that's just like the AIM program. That's how we plug in general officers into these events. We go to a lot of, we send them a lot to HBCUs, minority serving institutes, and they go out there and talk about opportunities in the Air Force as well that way. So that's kind of their big push. Is there another slide on there? Okay. We do have virtual engagements. We do have like a small virtual team here that does things online. The Pathway to Wings is basically a Q&A of the AIM members we bring online every month. And you know, the youth actually get to engage with the pilots and hear their pathway they took to get their wings. And it kind of connects them a little bit more into aviation that way. One more thing that we got is the AIM High Flight Academy. That's not on this slide. It's just something extra I want to talk about. Essentially what that is it's a scholarship that my unit funds to inspire aviation. It's roughly around 100 kids every year get to actually go to the AIM High Flight Academy, and from ground zero, having no flight experience, to the end of the 3-week program, they're solo in a Cessna. Last year it was done in Florida, and now this year we're moving it into 3 or 4 different universities across the US. So we're opening up more locations, and we're probably going to have a lot more class seats coming soon. Det 1 opened up in about 2018. And we really didn't start tracking data until 2019. And I don't think we have the slide up here, but the amount of engagements that we do have tend to grow every year. So increasing the AIM High Flight Academy, that's still going to continue to grow. And then zone blitzes is another area that we kind of cover on the enlisted side. So we'll target diversity rich cities and pretty much work with the EA squadron or EA total force. And we'll just have like a big recruiting effort in that city. So we'll bring out flight simulators, SPIs, we'll bring out aviators, we'll bring out pretty much anything that we can. I know for like one that I'm setting up in Detroit, we're looking at bringing out linguists with us per the squadron's request out there. So anything we can do to help, you know, and just have a big successful event, that's kind of the mission. But yeah, a lot of it's just like a project management type of position. A lot of it, you're just plugging people to talk to other people and make sure everybody's communicating on the same page. So I just got here in January of this year, and so far it's been a good a good ride. I would say on average, I'm out the door TDY about 2 weeks out of the month, which is quite a bit. I did slow down a little bit here recently due to an operation that I had, so I'm kind of grounded right now. So if you'd like to travel, I mean, this could be a great opportunity for you. We've done things in Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Alaska. We've had some pretty good locations, and a lot of locations, aren't always the greatest. You might end up somewhere in the Midwest. Anywhere where there's diversity, that's kind of where we go. So it's not limited to any particular regions or anything like that. We're just, if there's a good event that meets our target, then we're trying to get out there. So I didn't come from an aviation background, and it's pretty cool to come into something that's so aviation centered. I feel like I've learned a lot about aviation. Just being in the Air Force, you think you might know about aviation, but if you don't have an aviation background, you might not. So it's pretty cool to work with a lot of the pilots and rated officers and stuff whenever you go out on these CDYs and hear their stories and things like that. And it's pretty cool. I would say, all in all, about the unit, we got about 10 enlisted and about 10 officers at work here in Det 1. Once again, I never really worked with officers before this assignment, and so far it's been great. Once again, you learn a lot from them, and it's a good different perspective. Definitely like that learning aspect of a different type of work environment. So that's all good. Anybody have any questions about Det 1, what we do, anything like that? Anything I didn't explain all the way?
Yeah, I had a question. I don't know if you got to it in the chat. Just as far as the AIM team goes, is that something that like EA recruiters be like, hey, we got an air show coming up? Like, is that something we can like request, or do you guys just already have like things pre-planned out for them?
Yeah, so as far as being an AIM, you are required to be rated. I think there may have been an opening for a few enlisted people within aviation, like crew chiefs and things like that. But you have to sign up through our AIM portal to actually become an AIM member. That way your information's in the database whenever we start selecting people. Once you're in there, you can apply for, it's pretty much like a spreadsheet of all the different events, and you can just go in there and pick whatever you're interested in doing. So a lot of the AIM members, though, they might have, it'll be an event in Phoenix. Well, they have family in Phoenix, so they kind of get the dual hatted as, well, cool, a free vacation home. I go hang out at this event and things like that. Did that answer the question, or am I just rambling?
That wasn't exactly my question. My question, if we have, if we're hosting an air show or being at an air show and we want like the AIM team to come help us recruit essentially, or just show presence in the community and have them set up that flight simulator and talk with youth out there, just because it's about setting up for the next recruiter after us. Is that something we can, hey, we got an event, can we get the AIM team out here to, just help out or just be part of the community?
Yeah, so we do have a portal that you can pretty much request our presence at an event. And if it meets, what we're after, then yeah, of course. So okay, I'll put my email in the chat. And then if anybody wants to email me to get that link, I'll email it out to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sir, I did have one quick one for you. Where is Det 1 based out of?
Yeah, so we're actually in the sub basement of AFRISS headquarters. So you got the basement, then there's actually another basement from the basement. So we're pretty down underground.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
I don't know if that was meant to be insulting to your location or not, but I thought it was funny. We're in the basement of the basement.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
All right. Well, thank everybody for your time.
All right, and that's all I had. Well, I thank everybody who remained on for the whole call. Really appreciate your support for everything that you guys do coming out and show force for the recruiting service 5-6. So these videos are going to get posted to YouTube. I know the last one didn't get posted on time, but we are going to get that handled. Outside of that, if anybody has any last minute comments, concerns, or suggestions for the 5-6, you've got my contact information. Just go ahead and send it out to me and I'll make sure we can take care of your request for you. So the next event we have should be later next month. We're looking to put on a trivia challenge. We will have prizes for that one. And that's going to be coordinated with certain Lawson. So look for email invite for that one. And that's all I've got. So I appreciate everybody for coming out.